What we do here is go back.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Content Deputy. Today's episode will be a bit different compared to what I would normally do for a content deputy, which means that I'm going a little bit beyond Dark Viper's actual response to my content cop because, you know, he was like half the video. Now, before I start, I want to throw in a few little disclaimers specifically for Matto, so, you know, he can listen to the video without any worry. It may not make sense yet to you, the viewer, but just keep it in mind. This is not a life story or fucking documentary on Dark Viper. I'm not gonna attack Dark Viper for his whole 14 pages drama. It's a little played out, and according to Dark Viper, there might be a little context missing that we can cover. Instead, I'll use it for some comedic relief. And just because I will be making some harsh jokes and some hyperbole at Dark Viper's expense, that does not mean I think Dark Viper is Satan himself with a heart full of doo-doo feces. I especially won't be calling him autistic. He really doesn't like that.
Rather than making a video and then just liking all these people, that suggested that my less than cordial responses to you were evidence of my mental illness and autism.
Now that we've all got our binkies in, let's talk about Dark Viper's interesting response to my video. There's a lot to cover, and contrary to what Dark Viper might think of me, I'm actually not here to smear him or ruin his life. I've actually enjoyed some of his GTA content over the years. I'm here because of his insufferable rambles towards critics or people he perceives are lying about him, which have bled into his content, and that sucks. By the end of this video, I aim to show that Dark Viper has got a basic and long-running pattern of behavior. He'd probably respond with, well, some of these issues where I acted like a child were resolved with the people I whined about, so you can't criticize my behavior, which obviously is dumb. Like, just because the conflict was solved doesn't mean your behavior and by proxy your content is all of a sudden fixed. But before we go there, let's dive into his responses to my video. The first one came in form of a now deleted community post / tweet where he talked about why he does not want to respond to my video using the most vague terms possible. This post is really bad, and so is the stream that came after, which he turned into an also now hidden video. Did he remove this content because he saw the glaring hypocrisy of responding to a video by going on a rant about not responding to my video? Who knows? Now, as much as I'm sure that you'd love to hear me read every word this schizo clown wrote where he owns me with facts and logic, let's say, hypothetically, that you were 14 pages, I feel like that might get a little boring. If only there was someone... Clown. I'm gonna call in some backup.
I saw some of you expressing worry that I will make response videos to drama creators. I want to explain why that won't happen for those of you who don't know much about me. Drama channels do not traditionally relay factual information. At best, they present dramatized and exaggerated accounts of people and events for entertainment. At worst, the people and events they cover do not even exist. Truth isn't the goal of these videos, nor what their audiences are seeking. Therefore, showing the falsehood of anything said has no impact on the next drama video. The same false information gets copied over, usually with a twist or further exaggeration, and a new fiction is added to expand the story. Each fiction feels credible to the viewer because it has a similar vibe to the previous one. This pattern takes advantage of something called the illusory truth effect, where hearing something repeatedly makes it feel true, even if it isn't. My response videos are not traditionally targeted towards drama creators. I made an exception for Willie Mac Show, and I explained why I made that exception in the series. In line with expectations, despite through him showing that everything the drama community says about me and my life is false, it hasn't stopped them from repeating those same falsehoods or inventing new ones where appropriate. They have further not publicly condemned him for his lying, which has showcased for the few not already aware that they understand the game they are playing. Early in my career, the online image of DarkViperAU roughly matched a more expressive version of who I actually am. Now, the vision invoked in some people's minds often bears little resemblance to me or my life. As I've laughably shown in my rambles, I sometimes don't even understand the root of what's being attributed to me. Back when misinformation came from honest mistakes, I could correct it to some extent. These days, the source is usually people knowingly lying for profit, or people who are simply delusional. I can therefore have no real impact, as I cannot change the profit motive for fiction or fix anyone's underlying issues. There is a demand for fictional stories about me, and there are those keen to meet that demand. I occasionally run across people who seem confused when, after seeing me or my work elsewhere, that I don't act in line with their expectations. They conclude I must be wearing a mask. I think this idea is more comforting to them than questioning if they've been duped. To the degree that I still point to these falsehoods despite the futility of correcting them, it's when I have a different motive. I enjoy making response videos, and sometimes they can be profitable or humorous, like the previous right-wing video. I also sincerely miss writing, which is the one creative outlet usually denied me in my traditional work, pacifist being the exception. It's simply that responding to drama videos isn't fun compared to addressing those who are genuine. As I showed with Willie Mac Show, drama videos contain no real criticism, as they are too divorced from reality for that to be possible. In any response, I spend most of the time just explaining the events that are being lied about. Well, this isn't enjoyable for me, or, based on my analytics, entertaining for most of you. I'm just endlessly repeating myself. I will still make rare response videos in the future, but only to serious videos or topics. I do not watch drama videos. videos. It is not worth the time. There will still be some shit-talking rambles, and I'll cover drama in my mythical iceberg video should that one day release. But I've accepted that wanting to always be liked or hated for just real things is foolish. No person or their life can be understood by everyone, and think even expecting people to understand what motivates my actions is silly. To what extent you wish to defend me out in the wild, although I appreciate it, it is not necessary. I am unlikely to see it, as I don't spend much time scrolling social media, and I do not want people expending mental effort remembering minor details of the random nonsense of my career. Please do keep in mind that this is my job, and I am the one uploading the videos. If I am over the top, I am well aware. That is usually the point, and something I enjoy in my work. Feel free to just chill and enjoy my content in the same way I do.
A simple no would have sufficed. Am I shocked? No, not at all. I knew he couldn't help himself but to respond, but I also realized he'd probably avoid addressing any criticism whatsoever by trying to dodge it completely. What's worse about this post and his subsequent stream is that because of the fact that he was so vague about me, he gave himself a potential out for it not being about me. Obviously, we know it's about me thanks to him not being able to help but call me out on the slightest inconsequential mistake I made while giving an extremely brief rundown of his early career. He started as an atheist channel where he debated Christians, and then he went on to this freeboot gig where he was basically upscaling different debates and whatnot until it eventually got demonetized for, stealing content, which is very ironic.
I actually heard recently that apparently I once upon a time had a channel where I debated Christians. That, of course, never happened. But as I say, it's stuff that's so long ago that it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, you sure got me. I misspoke about your first and second channel by mixing the two up. I'm man enough to own my mistakes, so let me correct the record. You started out talking about politics and religion, then on your second channel you hosted freeboot atheist debates where Christians were often being debated. I wonder who else could make such a terrible mistake about your early career.
I started my career online in discussing social, political, philosophical ideas, debating them with people. It's hard to imagine me in my 20s, as shy as I was, actually debating people like by voice and shit. That one debate I did with Destiny was like the most, it was kind of like I had been streaming for a bit.
Oh. Word? Anyways, he's clearly talking about me, or at least it's strongly implied, as these responses seem to have spawned from his Reddit talking about my video, sounding worried that Matt might see it. Now, these responses heavily mischaracterized me. No shocker. In everything he attributed to me, there was never a chance for me to potentially be correct because he gave me the label of drama creator. He even gave the banger line of, drama videos contain no real criticism as they are too divorced from reality for that to be possible. Obviously, that's a load of shit. I gave plenty of real criticism in my video, and thanks to this awful response and plenty more factors, I have a lot more to talk about. In my conclusion, I'll try to answer what Dark Viper just doesn't seem to understand about why he gets a lot of shit from people. He said a lot in that response document. Thankfully, he adds to it in the 2-hour-long stream he made about my video a few days later. Now, he repeats himself a lot in this VOD, so if you'd like to see the full VOD, I'll link that and any video I bring up from Dark Viper in the description. Normally, I wouldn't do this because I don't want to get accused of sending in a brigade, but I also don't want to give our pal Matto an excuse to bitch about context. So, let's dive into his response stream and see what else he has to say about me. I cannot wait to see what you have to say about me, Matto.
It's 14 hours!
There has been a wide variety of videos made by people who don't know much about me, but decide for a variety of reasons to speak on me and my career despite that. There are some difficulties in doing this because I have been around for like 15 years, and because of that, a lot of information about my life is simply not there.
I do know who you are. I think you've made good GTA content over the years. Now, do I know your whole fucking life story? No. And I don't think I need to. I'm not making a fucking documentary about you. I was criticizing your shitty behavior that has bled into your content.
But despite these difficulties, these videos still get made. And consequently, they are wrong on almost every aspect.
Consequently, I can't criticize you because I don't know your life story? What kind of fucked up logic is that? Do film critics need to know the backstory of its creator to criticize a film? I hope not.
Some of it is pure malice. Some of it is legitimately the people knowing that what they're saying is false and just making it up anyway. Or knowing that they don't have any information, and because there is no such information available, they just make shit up knowing that they can't be contradicted. A significant purpose of this series I made on Willie Mac Show was to demonstrate that drama creators do this. They know they're doing this and they just don't care. But I have to grant that there are some people out there who are genuine and do want to speak on my life and my career, but simply do not know that there's no actual information available out there in the wild about those things. And consequently, unknowingly get things wrong entirely.
So there's no in between, no room for critique? He echoes this message many times. He said the same thing in the tweet and other videos he's made about drama. It's very clear he doesn't understand criticism or is maliciously characterizing critics so his fans don't actually listen to them. I also love how my benefit of the doubt is, oh, maybe this idiot isn't genuine. He's just too stupid to know the truth. Fucking asshole. What the fuck's wrong with you, dude?
One drama creator will invent a fiction, and another one will copy that fiction because it's faster and easier than making their own. And the third one will believe it, actually believe it's true because he saw it in true drama videos. And then they will expand out these fictions over and over again. And I'm going to touch on in the other post, I have no way of stopping this.
Of course you can't stop this, right? So you're telling me that there's some deep state of drama creators who just copy each other's work, which you claim is all made up, and nobody but you has discovered this. Okay, jokes aside, he's basically implying plagiarism, which is funny because the reason I decided to cover Dark Viper had yet to be covered by any drama creators. CyberBoi did attempt to call him out on this, but as I said in my first video, I didn't know much about that situation and hadn't seen his videos, which is why I didn't cover it, but today that'll change. The only drama videos I did watch about you were the ones made by the British Runner, which covered nothing of what I was criticizing you for, but it gave me a solid rundown of your past dramas. And if I decided to bring any of that up while introducing you, I gave my own take on it after getting myself familiar with the facts through my own research. That's why you'll see me give some different opinions, like when I gave you credit after Charlie got some stuff wrong when covering your React document. The only thing I have since changed my stance on a bit is the fair use defense with Chud logic. Not because I don't think Chud's reaction was transformative, I do, but for legal reasons after doing my own research into React streamers for a separate video. I'll come back to this point very soon.
I made an exception for Willie Mac Show and explained why I made that exception in the series. In line with expectations, despite that through him I showed that everything the drama community says about me and my life is false, it hasn't stopped them from repeating those same falsehoods or inventing new ones where appropriate. They have further not publicly condemned him for his lying, which I showcased for the few not already aware that they understand the game they are playing.
This is a really fucking stupid argument. So just because you have a negative interpretation of one guy, he now represents everyone? And anyone who wants to criticize you must condemn the guy you don't like? Buddy, this isn't Content Cop Willie Mac. Maybe if I hypothetically made one, sure, I'd call him out for not watching 24 hours of your React content as if that was relevant to your current position on reaction content. But that won't happen because not only do I not blame him for making that mistake, but he's also not nearly as malicious or insufferable as you clearly are. As you could probably already decipher from the tweet and the video so far, it lacks any nuance or chance for anyone who criticizes Dark Viper to be anything but malicious, which I would consider a malicious way to frame critics, ironically. He doesn't really like criticism.
Back when misinformation came from honest mistakes, I could correct it to some extent. These days, the source is usually people knowingly lying for profit or people who are simply delusional. This is bad phrasing. I mean people who are deluded, in that they themselves have been taken in by these people. They think they're honestly communicating facts of situations, but they have just been watching drama videos. So the only things they know is complete nonsense.
Dude, the main video I criticized you for was directly from your channel. If you were talking about my rundown of your past controversies, again, I was just going off common knowledge and was sure to verify shit before I gave my take. Dark Viper loves to accuse people of lying about him. He throws it around quite often. So I'll propose a question to Dark Viper. Matt, what is this?
I can't give an individual hand-holding for every grifter or every person naively spreading false information about me. One of the more recent ones, the guy DM'd me on every single social media platform, begging me to respond to him, to tell me why he was wrong. Can you imagine me spending literal months of my life explaining in intricate detail all the things that he got wrong already in videos? In some cases, spending thousands of dollars to do this, and the person literally just not watching them. And that person then concluding they deserve a personal handholding and a personal explanation of my entire life and all the things they got wrong simply because they presented misinformation on the internet. Can you imagine how psychotic, deluded you have to be to think that?
I swear on Hassan's life, I pray you're not talking about me. If you are, you're lying. Now, it's true that when you made your response post, I quote tweeted you challenging your assertion that I lied about you, and you didn't respond. I also decided to reach out in DMs because if I was horribly misinformed, I wanted to know what I got wrong. Believe it or not, I'm not in the business of smearing people. Half of what I do in these videos is call out hypocritical content. I never demanded for your life story, just for you to corroborate your claims against me. That's the only platform I ever attempted to communicate with you on. I never reached out on Twitch, Instagram, Discord, fucking Blue Sky, or anything like that after you ignored me. I don't know who else you could possibly be talking about. If I'm missing something and you can prove this isn't about me, then I'll concede. But otherwise, you're essentially accusing me of harassing you, which never happened, and you can get away with it because you're a pussy and you're being vague. I also find it very ironic how he's been saying that he doesn't want people to get their idea of him from drama videos, then insists I watch 10 hours worth of his drama videos to get the right idea.
Explaining in intricate detail all the things that he got wrong already in videos. In some cases, spending thousands of dollars to do this, and the person literally just not watching them.
Look, Pip, I know it's our job to help this guy and everything, but I think this guy's a lost cause. He's obviously made up his mind. Why don't we just cut our losses and get out of here?
The best part about this is the fact that none of these videos have anything to do with my main point of contention, which was calling out his moral posturing about empathy. But since he insisted, I took the liberty of watching 13 hours worth of DarkViperAU videos to see what I got wrong.
Poo, pee, pee, penis and vagina. Women with dicks and weak men.
Well, after watching several hours worth of Dark Viper content, the content he was responding to, and a few additional videos he demanded people watch in those videos for even more context, I gotta be honest, I concede. To absolutely fucking nothing. Are you kidding me? None of this shit applied to 99% of what I covered in my video. I think there's only one thing that even slightly moved the needle for me, and it was hearing his current position on React content. More on that soon. Because none of this really covers the moral posturing I called out in my original video. Looks like we have a whole new host of topics to cover, and if you're worried we won't go over my original points, don't worry, it'll all come together. Like I said before, I generally agree with the idea of most things in Dark Viper's original document. I just also think it's highly flawed. I won't relitigate this because Dark Viper will just say, oh, you're going over a script that was, but then wasn't gonna be a video, and some of those I changed stuff, blah, 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 which, fair enough. Even if you've been dishonest about that, I'll be fair. I still stand by my criticism of the date rape analogy. Despite what he may say now, he still continues to defend the comment by saying it's not a one-to-one comparison and it's only slight hyperbole.
When he crops off the next tweet where I explicitly say that I do not think reaction content and rape are the same fucking thing or equivalent in any way. Gabby's gonna put this tweet on screen to misrepresent it a lot. Not only is her interpretation of these words incorrect, but she's also cropping off the next two tweets. One where I directly call these words hyperbole to mean that I'm exaggerating and this should not be taken literally. And I made another tweet specifically for dishonest people like Gabby, where I say, I'm not saying that rape and reaction content are akin to each other. I'm sure she just left those off by accident. But despite this, in my entire 12-year career, this one reply 3 years ago is the main thing that Woody wants to highlight from it. And he can't even be honest about it, lying now about it twice and excluding information if it hurts what he's trying to say.
Like, literally look at directly what he says. He outright says it is hyperbole, but only slightly so. The difference between actively ignoring consent for financial gain is not so far removed from ignoring consent for sexual gratification. Slight? Since you doubled down 11 months ago, you can't use the 3 years ago defense here. Also, this proves I was exactly right in my original interpretation. I used the word comparable, which doesn't mean I claimed you thought they were the same thing. You just think it's only a slight hyperbole, which is still insane and worthy of criticism. You'd be much better off acknowledging this criticism as, like I said before, most of your takes on React content aren't all that bad, and you'd have a lot more respect in this space. Instead, you refuse to accept criticism and you play a semantics game. I'll go into this further when I eventually drop my video on React streamers, but I don't think my assessment of DarkViper's views were that far off. Some of the ideas feel fucking extreme as it could negatively affect critical analysis of videos in a live setting.
I am the rights holder. Of course I'm going to take down the things I don't like that serve no constructive purpose and keep up those I do like or serve some purpose. While I do take down all full re-uploads of my videos, for clips, it depends on the usage. This particular clip exists for no other purpose than to allow people to disingenuously attack me with it because of the mistake I made when mimicking Franklin due to my surprise at the randomized dialogue.
Since I didn't give much detail into my more nuanced take on the Chud logic strike, I'll do it here. I think it was a bit wrong of me to imply that Chud's upload of his segment was totally protected under the fair use doctrine. To be clear, in my opinion, and as well as many others, Chud's video was transformative and could have stood on its own against DarkViper's, protecting it under the fair use doctrine. Sure, it partially is, but there are other parts where it gets kinda gray. I think Chud transformed the video substantially with this criticism. However, several other factors covered in the fair use doctrine could make the segment gray, despite the fact he tripled the video length. Thankfully for our case, DarkViper's take on React content doesn't have anything to do with fair use.
In my work, multiple times, I have specifically laid out that my criticism of reaction content has nothing to do with fair use.
Now, morally, in this instance, I think a DMCA takedown is extreme. And no, DarkViper, it's not because I'm friends with Chud Logic. I'm not. We've never once spoken. It's because I don't think there's much, if any, audience overlap. And it did add crass but valuable criticism. Fun fact, DarkViper actually agrees that there isn't much overlap from his community and the drama commentary community, as he states in his response to me.
There's two parts of the internet here, right? Here is drama creators in here. Here is GTA content and people watching it. And here's like the tiny overlap that this has. But I'm in here. So I see all of this and I see all of this and I recognize none of this fucking matters.
Should Chud Logic have stolen DarkViper's thumbnail? No. Was DarkViper legally in the right to take this segment down? Honestly, probably. Although, I'd say probably not if we were talking about the entire stream. And do I think he would have done this to a complimentary reaction? No. Why? Well, he kind of let that cat out of the bag himself while talking about his other uses of the DMCA system.
I am the rights holder. Of course I'm going to take down the things I don't like that serve no constructive purpose and keep up those I do like or serve some purpose. While I do take down all full re-uploads of my videos, for clips, it depends on the usage. This particular clip exists for no other purpose than to allow people to disingenuously attack me with it because of the mistake I made when mimicking Franklin due to my surprise at the randomized dialogue.
I also think throughout all of these videos, DarkViper is pretty bad faith towards Chud Logic. Now, maybe he's just giving Chud the same energy back because Chud was crass, but when I see clips like this...
What is valued as if a creator is being critical or analyzing a video, significantly adding to the runtime.
Significantly adding to the runtime.
Wait, what? What does that mean? I don't even understand what he means by that. What difference does that make? How is that a different I don't understand the difference. Why does that make a difference?
It's just some out of context blurb from Chud to make it look like he had no real commentary on the video he was reacting to, which after seeing Chud's reaction, I know that's not true. I just think it was a bit over the top to spend $3 grand on a lawyer to take down 2 videos from a much smaller channel, one of those videos just being a VOD, even after YouTube said no twice just to prove a point against a critic. A lot of his reasoning lacks nuance, and again, I'll go into my take on reaction streamers and the whole market impact in a future video. It's a topic I care about. While copyright law in relation to reaction streams can be ambiguous, What shouldn't be ambiguous is injury law, and that's where today's sponsor Morgan & Morgan is here to help. Emerging reports reveal that some hair color products may not come with clear warnings about potential health risks. If you or someone you know have been diagnosed with bladder cancer or other cancers after prolonged exposure to hair color, Morgan & Morgan is here to fight to get the compensation that you deserve. So why wait? It only takes a few minutes to see if you have a case, and you can do it all from your phone. Click the link in the description to learn more and see if you qualify. Thanks again to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring today's video. Most of what Dark Viper asked me to watch in order to dismantle all my arguments were the Willie Mac videos, but honestly, most of the shit didn't apply to me. I went through the effort of annotating each point he made, and most of them had nothing to do with me. So, for the sake of time, I'm not going to cover this whole back and forth in its entirety, but you're free to watch it all in the description. Despite that, I will still respond to certain points that either apply to my video or are a part of what I'd like to cover today, while trying to be as fair as possible. And then afterwards, I'll give my little take on this whole squabble. A lot of Dark Viper's rebuttal to Willie Mac is saying that there's a lie without actually showing anything. It takes him until his second video to even show any substantial context to what he's talking about.
There are points where he makes claims, then shows a clip that immediately debunks that claim.
Viper said Ethan memeing him saying 14 pages has traumatized him.
It's 14 pages!
Because one of my favorite people on the internet, Dark Viper, 14 pages!
I don't think Ethan is a very good person, and his using a soundbite of one of the most traumatic, angry moments of my entire life for many, many years on his stream, perhaps 100 times, is a bit more than excessive and very sick.
Why was this traumatic for you? You're angry over nothing.
Like, how was that not interesting to people?
Fucking blink and you'll miss it. Wow. Woo. You really got him there, Matto. Okay, Willie fucked up by claiming that Ethan playing those sound bites was traumatizing to you, when it was actually the drama between you and Charlie where you went on the rant screaming about the 14 pages that was one of the most traumatic moments of your life. You realize this is just as pathetic, right? And inconsequential to Willie's criticism of you being a crybaby. Like, it's very malicious to frame this as some example of an evil lie to make you look bad, when it was just Willie misspeaking while covering your video on Ethan. It is for sure a mistake on Willie's part, and that's fine to criticize, but is this really your big claim?
I could absolutely destroy Willie.
Then do it, pussy.
I don't think anyone that I can lead to this video wouldn't realize immediately that the video is false. You guys know enough about me. Even people who've been following me for like a week would know enough about me to know this video is false, at least to some degree. Those who've known me for a longer period would be able to go, oh, actually I was there for that, that's entirely false.
My audience knows me too well. They know better than to watch these videos because they already know they're wrong. It sounds like a manipulative way to make your audience avoid these videos.
Because within the context of the essay, they make sense. You can call them harsh, you can call them extreme, but what you can't call them is the idea that watching a YouTube video that someone else made on a live stream is somehow the same as rape. There are so many actual criticisms you can make of this draft that make sense. I mean, Carl made them all the way back then when we talked about it for like an hour or two.
Yeah, here's the problem. I think there's a better way to do it. If you want to make that analogy, remove the content creators from it. So what you've done is you've basically said, I'm going to make this analogy by saying that these content creators have the same kind of philosophy. But you don't need to do that at all. You could just say, here's an example of something to demonstrate my point, and you remove the content creators from it. For example, you just say, if some random person just thinks they need consent after, right, that's wrong. You can sort of make the analogy that way.
So you hear and agree with the criticism of your shitty date rape analogy, yet you continue to defend it when it's not criticized, right? I showed the full context and stated your current belief earlier, and I still had criticism. I'd love to find out how that's also still somehow invalid. Dark Viper criticized Willie's use of old clips of Dark Viper crashing out because it lacks the context of those things being resolved. I think while that context is important, it doesn't change the fact that it's been a pattern of behavior. I'll have more to add to that later. Now, let's get to something that could actually apply to me.
But his argument isn't that some reactors are bad, it's that they're all bad.
Wrong! 0 points!
Wrong? You quite literally said it yourself.
We can in fact ignore the last 3 years, all the things I've said and wrote since then, all the clarifications, all the nuance, and we can just go back and get one clip from the video when I was talking to Charlie. Moist Critical is not a bad person. He is correct to say that many of the general statements I made about reactors in regards to their motivations probably do not apply to him. This is of course the downside of speaking generally. I was at the time very angry. I would hope under better circumstances I would have been willing to admit that Critical's motivations likely differ from others, rather than simply doubling down and implying everyone who does React content is the same. It would be more correct to say that all reactors are doing a bad thing, as opposed to all reactors are bad people.
Fine, I'll personally take the L on this then. However, you can't claim someone is maliciously lying for assuming you think that based on the broader context. You said it yourself. You doubled down on it via Twitter. Your initial response stream didn't clarify this. In fact, you doubled down.
14-page script explaining why I don't like reactors and I think they're bad people. This is Charlie's attempt to poison you against a 14-page meticulously written document.
Then you finally clarified it deep into your response video and slightly altered your statement. No one was pulling this out of their ass, okay?
If you don't even know how to win the game, why are you playing?
I do. I'm just sorry.
But again, to pick the low-hanging fruit, Willie just can't describe what's in the clip. I am banning one person in this clip, not supporters. This clip is 4 years old. I haven't even played Among Us since 2020. Willie, of course, as with all the out-of-context clips that he lies about, just leaves off that detail. It's why all his followers were spamming at me as if this happened yesterday. People were saying, haha, why don't you go play Among Us with Scott? And the joke there is, I did. This controversy 4 years ago got resolved very quickly. It is only being brought up again by people like Willie because they have nothing else.
Wrong. I don't care.
Why are we restoring the game? I have never been this mad at a person in the entirety of my life!
I don't give a shit that you reconciled and apologized or whatever. I used it for comedic relief because you screaming over Among Us is really funny to me. It also demonstrates your pattern of irritable behavior. Regardless of whether or not you've apologized, you've done shit like that since. And because you keep doing it, people are gonna keep calling you pathetic. Can you believe it? He was mad over Among Us. Can you believe it? Among Us, it's a game, and there are many of them. But he was playing it, and he got really mad over the video game. Wow. Total loser. He was a sassy imposter. He lost. He was a total failure in Among Us. And he was really mad and he blamed it on his disease. Can you believe it? He blamed it on his disease. They called it Hashimoto's. No one knows what the hell that is.
Now understand, when I played that clip in my video, I showed the entire thing, the context, that it was clearly a mistake. But other people didn't have this interest. They took this clip and had it as short as possible, often just zooming in onto my webcam to just have me saying the M-word. And Willie, of course, like, yes, this is wonderful. This is adding to discourse. This is amazing. This is exactly what society should be. Because Willie doesn't have any arguments as to why me acting differently would be better for other people.
Well, I showed your gamer moment in my video too, with full context, again, for comedic relief and to demonstrate one of the clips that you like to DMCA, not to make you look like a dirty racist.
He then says he took down the reaction video not because of the content, but because it was a reaction video.
This entire time, you've been claiming I took it down because it was a critical video. You've implied all throughout that the critical nature of the video was important. Even in the description, you're like, he took down a critical video of him. Shouldn't you be arguing against this?
Let's play your little game, Matt. Where's the lie? You did take down a critical video of you. Now, as for the idea of you taking down the video because it was critical, I've never personally made this claim, but it sure does look this way based on your previous statements on why you've taken down other videos of you.
But regardless of his degree of sincerity, the false premise of the final section of Willie's video is that I'm constantly sad, I have no friends, I have no family, and I ultimately lead a bad life. This is very obviously untrue. But let's say for a moment that it was true, and Willie actually believed it. What the hell does it say about Willie that he would see a person in those circumstances and not feel any empathy, pity, mercy, or desire to show kindness? Feelings that I have when I see people in such circumstances. Willie instead, when seeing a person in negative circumstances, seems to have the instinct to attack that person and publicly mock their poor fortunes for joy and profits.
Dude. Oh my god, man. Grow up. Seriously, dude. Grow the fuck up. These are playground insults. You are crying over playground insults. Just like you did in the CyberBoi drama when you cried because apparently he called you autistic.
My less than cordial responses to you were evidence of my mental illness and autism.
Loser! You're a loser! You feeling sorry for yourself? Well, you should be! If that kind of shit is really affecting you like that, then yeah, it is kind of sad and pathetic. You act like you ever really show a shred of empathy towards anyone ever criticizing you. Why do you expect the same treatment back? When you banned that speedrunner just because you didn't like him, was that very empathetic of you, dude?
Why must my life suffer? Why must I suffer so with no one caring for so long?
Was it very empathetic to tell your audience to not feel anything at the public assassination of a man who had died a few hours prior? Okay, I'll be honest and say after watching both sides, both had some fair criticism of one another. Maybe I can go into more detail about that on a second channel stream, but overall I think DarkViper really failed to address the core critiques from Willie and instead attacked more insignificant semantical arguments or editing choices to come to the worst faith conclusion. Oh, shocker, of course, shut up! It had nothing to do with me! You asked for this! So now, after going over what I watched, I can confidently say that I feel pretty fucking vindicated in asking Matt where the lies were. There was only one point that I think I could have done better on, but it was inconsequential to my main criticism in my video where I go after DarkViper's empathy virtue signal. If anything, you gave me more subject matter to criticize when it comes to the moral posturing.
And that person then concluding they deserve a personal handholding and a personal explanation of my entire life and all the things they got wrong simply because they presented misinformation on the internet. Can you imagine how psychotic, deluded you have to be to think that?
Well, after watching all that shit and barely anything I criticized having been addressed, I feel pretty vindicated in my request.
That's probably needlessly cruel.
Oh, God forbid. Oh, don't be too cruel to me, DarkViper.
On some level, I can understand why these people don't know this content exists. It doesn't propagate in the algorithm. It doesn't reach. It doesn't reach these people. It's like these people see it and none of these people do, and it just does nothing.
I can give you a little theory on why this content doesn't propagate in the algorithm. It may be because it's bad content. You repeat yourself constantly, dodge criticism, go over mountains to paint your critics as evil, bad faith, or delusional people, and it can be extremely hard to watch. As a big YouTuber, that you should fucking know that watch time helps videos succeed. Hiding your big rebuttal in 14 hours of content isn't gonna work, especially when you frame critics in the way that you do.
It's really obvious in some cases that they don't know what they're talking about.
If it's really so obvious, would it have been that hard to prove it when I challenged you? Because now we're much deeper into this shit.
My entire life, being a kind, caring, considerate person as a goal, and despite that, I have been an asshole countless times. I have wronged people countless times. I've got things wrong countless times. Why? Because I'm a human being.
Cool. Then you should have no problem being criticized. I won't attack you for things you've taken accountability for, although I may make fun of them. The problem is you have at many points in time just not taken accountability for shit, or you just repeat the bad behavior after things are all good.
There's two things you can say about me. One, I'm not malicious. And two, I'm really chill. I will not chill. One of the reasons why I so heavily embraced the 14 pages meme when it happened so many years ago, and we made so many memes about it and shit, and we even made the emote and stuff, because I just realized how valuable it was to have a number associated with me and my brand. The amount of money that other brands would pay to have that is astronomical. It just has always sucked that it still has the association with Ethan Klein, and that people lied about it to the degree they think I hate it. So there are people who spam it, not because they like the meme, not because they find it funny, not because they use it in a way that they think they can craft jokes, as we do, but because they believe they can hurt me with it. I'm reminded each and every day with that meme that there exists a cohort of people that have been so misled, so deluded, that they find personal joy in the idea that they might cause me harm.
You realize that when you say shit like this, you're telling people this actually does hurt me. Even if you're not hurt by the meme itself or whatever, you saying this shit is the kind of oversharing that feeds the trolls, so to speak. He brings up the idea that the meme is associated with Ethan Klein, and because of that, people think he hates the meme. I wanted to take a second to revisit that because it's one of the whiniest things I've ever seen online.
That very recently I found out that Ethan has something like 6 different sound effects of me on his podcast. Not only that, he has used them frequently for over 2 years. That is just really fucked up.
How is that fucked up, dude? It's just sound bites, dude. It's not that deep.
He's not using these in like a wholesome way. He's using them to mock me as a regular thing for years. I don't know how sick of an individual you have to be to do something like this. Like, if he was using it in some wholesome way or shouting me out in some positive way, fine. But he's just using it to mock me.
How is a joke at your expense Sick. How do you say shit like this and wonder why people call you whiny?
It's sad that Ethan Klein's announcement of taking an indefinite break from H3H3 was clickbait. As someone who has been incessantly harassed by him for years in front of thousands, he is one of those truly deserving of being driven off the internet. A bully beloved by bullies.
Harassing you?
14 pages! Because one of my favorite people on the internet, Dark Viper, 14 pages! You remember this guy?
It's 14 pages!
I wrote 14 pages!
Brother, he's poking fun at you. He's not attempting to reach out or get a hold of you, and he's not sending his audience after you. He's doing what you claim your audience does, which is poke fun at your little crash out.
In general, Ethan has never understood the difference between jokes and mockery. He views insults as jokes because he finds joy in hurting others.
I don't think you understand humor, dude. Does Dark Viper not understand humor?
I tried to emotionally, or even in the public eye, claim back this meme.
Yes! Yes! Dude, this isn't the N-word. It was never that deep. Most people aren't trying to make you feel bad. You looked ridiculous when you crashed out over that, and the fact you can't play along knowing that is why people think these things about you.
The clips I have here all come from YTKS, which is where you can search a channel for particular words. So this thing isn't perfect. It isn't like it's picked up every single time he's done this.
Wait, he made that compilation? Dude, what dude, this guy's fucked.
It's simply that responding to drama videos isn't fun compared to addressing those who are genuine. Like even, take for example, I know Ludwig's video, or like the whole React thing with Hassan or Ludwig or XQC. All these videos were dumb, like impressively stupid, but they were genuine to a degree. At no point in their speaking did I think they weren't actively communicating what they actually believed, as wrong as it was.
So I'm not genuine, but fucking Ludwig and Hassan Piker are some of the most disingenuous motherfuckers out there. You at least know Hassan is. I've seen you go after him before, but in what world are those two more genuine than me? And even though I disagree with the idea, even if they were more genuine, how at all does that change the validity of my criticism?
That they weren't like in the process of being like, okay, let's have a nice, fair, rational look at the career of DarkViperAU, give a retrospective on all the things he's done. It's just, where can I find things that will be funny regardless of how untrue? Because the goal is entertainment. It's not genuine inquiry. It's not learning about me or my stances or things that happen in my life. They don't have a genuine interest in me. They have no fucking idea who I am.
You couldn't be more wrong in your framing of me. While yes, the goal is entertainment, my job is to make my criticism of you entertaining while remaining factual. I wouldn't get away with making shit up, and I have no interest in doing so. I'm also, again, not making a fucking documentary about you. This isn't the story of your life. It's me saying, hey dipshit, you can be criticized. Learn how to handle criticism without being such a whiny bitch. In this next clip, he gives himself a little leeway into why he's so wrong and why he's been mischaracterizing me in his responses.
Usually, someone else will bring up that a drama video exists and I'll say, can you watch it and tell me if there's anything new or important or interesting that I haven't seen 1,000 times before? And the answer is always no.
Well, someone lied to you, because the entire premise of my video wasn't even a point of contention when all your previous drama videos were released. Right after he all but confirms that he did click on my video to look in the description.
Like sometimes I will not watch the drama videos, but I will just look in the comment, like in the description, in the rare times that they link other videos that they've used as sources. I'm like, seen it, 100% wrong, seen it, 100% wrong. Wow, how did this fucking dumbass not realize that everything in that video was false?
Dude, look at his smug little fucking face. He thinks he just hit a haymaker on me, bruh. Oh shit, you really got me there, didn't you? You're right, how did I not realize that? How? How did I realize that? Fuck! Fuck! Damn it! Fuck! Damn it! So let me answer your question. How? Because I didn't use them as sources for my script, Reaper. I referenced them as a way to quickly bring up that these controversies happened. I never said I agreed with anything in those videos. In fact, I even said that Charlie got shit wrong in the video I linked, but I referenced it for context. How can you be so confident yet so wrong about what you're talking about? It's great.
But drama creators aren't particularly smart people. Okay, I gotta stop speaking like that. I'm 34. Like, I was also a dumbass in my early 20s. I was overconfident in my 20s. I thought I understood everything in my early 20s. I can't really blame people who are that age for feeling the same way. But it's annoying being in your 30s, looking at these fucking kids, not understanding that they do not understand what the fuck they're talking about.
Wow, excellent anti-insult. Patronize me because I'm a big tart in my early 20s instead of engaging with my criticism. That'll surely show people how superior your ideas are to mine. Him going after my age is particularly funny to me, as when I was subjecting myself to tens of hours of Dark Viper content, I keenly identified a moment where Dark Viper attacked Chud Logic for being too old.
I'm a total maniac! Ah!
This is a grown-ass man.
An interesting fact I just learned about Chud Logic is that he is 38 years old. Let that sink in. Look at how Chud acts as a person on a day-to-day. What kind of content he makes. Who is 38 years old, so invested in YouTube drama?
Oh, God forbid.
It is wild to me how many people put forth this idea that in my private life, I'm yelling and screaming and ranting and raving.
I've never heard that, and I've also never said that. But at the same token, you don't do yourself any favors.
Why can you not stop lying? Please stop lying! You guys who exist in here mainly, you have no conception of how batshit crazy and dumb and deluded the people over here are.
Ah, beautiful execution of well poisoning. Don't watch these people, they're crazy. No wonder you have so many blind defenders.
But even those who watch this one, they're not gonna watch it again. If Winnie Maxshow's face is changed for the next dude, it's not gonna change the content of the video. It's gonna be the exact same explanations again.
First off, why should I have to watch 10 hours of content in order to have the right to criticize you for something else? Secondly, how the fuck would you even know if you don't watch drama videos like you claim?
If your baseline of information you already know is effectively nothing, your ability to suss out bullshit in what you're watching is effectively non-existent, right? You don't know what you don't know.
Huh, can't this same principle be applied to you right now? You've spent so much time talking about a video you claim to have not watched and are making baseless claims about it. But Cameron, the video is about him. Of course he knows what it's about. Clearly. This response was awful. He acts like a victim while also acting too high and mighty to respond to criticism he doesn't even know about. Maybe that has a part in why the edited VOD was made members only and the tweet was deleted. Because I'm nice, I won't pull a Dark Viper and force him to watch an hour's worth of my content just to hear my actual criticism. And thanks to these awful responses and 2 new dramas that he got himself into, I actually have even more criticism to add to the pile that, again, hasn't been covered by those pesky drama creators. I am, of course, talking about CyberBoi and TGG. And naturally, as the unfair, bad faith, malicious drama creator I am, I actually side with Matt on some of this shit. It may not be obvious at first, but in a hilarious turn of events, both of these controversies relate to my exact critiques towards Dark Viper's shitty behavior and moral posturing. And hey, Dark Viper, we can still shit on the quartering together while we're at it. At least we have that in common.
I'm dying inside.
First, CyberBoi. So a little before I dropped my content cop, a smaller British GTA creator known as CyberBoi committed the crime of publicly criticizing Dark Viper after years of glazing and defending him. When I first made my video, I saw this going on in the background and thought it was a bit shitty of Matt to be publicly and loudly beefing with a much smaller creator even after he seemingly apologized. However, I was open to being wrong since I didn't know the ins and outs, and I said that myself. Now, I don't really know the ins and outs of this situation, and to be very clear, I'm not saying Dark Viper is responsible for this kid's mental state, and I don't know and frankly don't care who is or isn't in the right. I just think it's incredibly shitty of Dark Viper to constantly scream and whine and play victim against critics while he can be as aggressive as he wants without anyone being allowed to respond. Now that I've looked into it, I can finally give my take on it. Ironically, the basis of CyberBoi's initial criticism of Dark Viper is very similar to one of the main points I made in my content cop. The only difference being that CyberBoi did a god-awful job presenting the criticism and couldn't be fucked to prove his point with evidence, therefore putting himself in a horrible situation. While I think CyberBoi's first video comes off as reasonable, it fails to show evidence proving DarkViper wrong.
I hold the stance that if you're going to voice an opinion on social media and you're going to share links and photographs of articles and documents, you should at least make sure those articles and documents are truthful and the information that you're reporting on is entirely correct. Now, in the case of DarkViper, he weighed in his comments on this whole Charlie Kirk situation, and like I said, he's entitled to his opinion, but I do think that there has to be some sort of social and moral accountability for pushing information that's false to the public. For example, this whole narrative about how Charlie Kirk wasn't able to be empathetic or sympathetic to people was all based on a statement that's been taken vastly out of context.
It also fails to show the context of several Twitter DMs where he had several opportunities to prove DarkViper wrong. It wasn't that hard to prove. I did it in my original. Here's the timestamp. You could check it out in the description. Then CyberBoi drops another video saying he's being pressured to remove his video by DarkViper. He says he's worried that DarkViper will kill his career, expresses that he can't handle the pressure due to his dad's cancer battle, tries apologizing for the way he handled the situation, and then decides to falsely claim that DarkViper leaked his dad's cancer treatment.
My father was going in for his cancer treatment, which, by the way, wasn't public knowledge, but you've now shared that all over your YouTube, so I'm trying not to get sarky and antagonistic, but fuck you.
I can be charitable to CyberBoi and say I totally understand and sympathize with what he's feeling with his dad's cancer, but doing this kind of shit is fucked up, and there's no way around it. It's emotional manipulation, and it's just fucked up. So finally, after 4 days of this shit, now the situation being far away from the initial point of contention, DarkViper responds and proves that CyberBoi lied about the claim that DarkViper was leaking information about his father's illness.
He pretended that I leaked that his father was dying. He made this false claim in the hopes of distracting his viewers from finding out about the horrible shit that he did. It was a really shitty lie because a month ago he made a video dedicated to revealing that.
I actually went into hospital to visit my dad. And whilst I was in hospital with my dad, all I will say is my dad's got an illness. It's not curable. It's quite serious. It's something that I'm dealing with.
I'm gonna briefly run through the rest of this because it gets repetitive, but DarkViper's title and thumbnail imply that CyberBoi is lying about his dad's cancer, which is kind of fucked, and he did end up changing it. In his video response and subsequent stream, he claims CyberBoi lied about the nature of the DMs, points out CyberBoi's narrative shift, and does his usual ranting and rambling. So in response, CyberBoi drops 2 videos where he concedes and apologizes to what he thinks DarkViper wants him to, and is brought to tears as he begs for DarkViper's fanbase to leave him alone.
I wrongly mislabeled DarkViper's stance of accusing people of being racist, and I made an honest mistake. And I am sorry. I am sorry for the way I've handled it. This is ridiculous.
This shit's fucking gay. However, apparently the apology wasn't good enough because it resulted in a generational fucking crash out.
Why can you not stop lying? Please stop lying! What is wrong with you? Like every single thing in this fucking video, your newest video is a lie! All I said, I just want you to acknowledge what you did and apologize. I spent 4 days of my life trying to get you to do that. And at every fucking turn, you said, no, fuck you. You wouldn't even acknowledge what I want you to apologize for. Even in this fucking video, you still would not acknowledge what I wanted to apologize for.
Sir, how long have you had a hemorrhoid for?
4 days! And when I finally go, well, I have to talk about this publicly, I make one fucking video, one live stream, doing the horrible things you did, and now I'm harassing you?
What's my take on all of this? While there are a ton of things I can and will criticize DarkViper for during this 4-hour stream about CyberBoi, on principle, I have to side with DarkViper. CyberBoi undoubtedly lied on multiple occasions and handled the situation awfully despite coming in with valid criticism. Don't get me wrong, DarkViper handled shit like a total baby as per usual, but because of CyberBoi's behavior, he ended up on top. There are some things that are important to take from this, but I'll come back to that after covering the TGG stuff. Total gamer girl. Haha, got him. DarkViper's ability to make grown men cry strikes again, this time with his longtime friend and podcast co-host, TGG. For context, as we discussed in my content cop, DarkViperAU sometimes likes to get political on Twitter. And as we criticized last time, he made some really untimely virtue signaling tweets hours after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. On top of that, DarkViper goes on for days defending his point despite acknowledging the fact that it was a bad idea, and even defends it in a YouTube video after harassment from people like the Quartering. And again, I'll echo what I said in my content cop, Dark Viper, you reap what you sow. During this, TGG reaches out in private and asks him to stop. Shortly after, TGG asks to pause the podcast and cancel the pack slot because of the negative PR Dark Viper is drawing towards himself by acting this way.
I don't feel comfortable sharing a business or a podcast with someone who is getting involved in a drama and politics environment semi-regularly. I want to make GTA videos. I do not give an F about politics. Quite honestly, I do not care.
Dark Viper seems fine with this whole thing, but that's where it gets kind of dicey because TGG claims that in his heart, this was kind of it for him.
See, in my mind, when I cancelled the PAX podcast with Matt, mentally, I had already cancelled the podcast permanently. Like that, in my mind, I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not doing this again. The reality is no. I don't think I actually explained that clearly enough.
But he didn't make that very clear to Matt, who thought this only meant skipping the PAX podcast, and in private did communicate as if things were going to continue. Dark Viper did agree that they would be allowed to publicly and honestly discuss the PAX slot being canceled. Then in October, TGG let Matt know that he wanted to end the podcast over wanting to steer clear of drama and politics. And Matt really doesn't like this.
TG had also finally come clean and told me he was ending the podcast, and we had an argument over it. This concluded by me saying, I just cared a lot about you, but you can never be straight with me. You say and do cruel things, and then when I say this hurt me, you berate me and call me a fool for feeling hurt at what you have done. You never apologize, you never concede. You just demand I accept that you actually really care a lot, despite that you continuously say and do cruel things. You demand unfailing belief and call it absurd that I ask to be convinced of anything.
Then TGG makes the podcast cancellation public in a Twitter reply, which infuriates Matt.
Oh my god, shut the fuck up. You don't need to reply to every comment. You've gone into drama with a dozen creators over the years for this damn reason. Delete your tweets, let them talk. Stop talking publicly, you moron. I can think of a dozen times you've called out creators on Twitter. You have no concept of how many requests I've had over the years for me to defend you because of shit you said or did. So he says, that tweet is pretty fair, no? To which I said, you seem peacefully delusional about everything. You don't understand what's fair. Just shut up. You exist in a fantasy world. Stop typing. Delete. I don't want drama. Look, man, I'm streaming tonight and I'll be asked about it. I made it very clear that I don't want people attacking you, but I want to explain why I ended the podcast. Which I said, stop trying as you always fucking do to instigate drama. Say nothing. What excuses you want to make publicly to defend your brand are not my concern. You have always done this. There's what is best for everyone and what is best for your brand, and you can barely even fathom the first. Fuck me right. You call yourself Marshall, but does it even exist? You remember being something other than TGG. I'm sorry, dude. I'm very confused about what is happening right now. Delete your tweets. Shut the fuck up. Never mention me again. I don't exist. Ignore comments about me. If there was even a shred of sincerity in anything you have ever said, delete your tweets and shut up. To which he says, honestly, I'm not sure that I can completely ignore what will be thousands of comments and messages. We have 33k subs. We should at least let them know that it's ended. I won't respond to threats, man. My tweet was honest. Threats? I kinda said he's not gonna delete them. She had you clocked from a mile away. How was I so blind to who you are?
This all blew up in a huge drama mess with Dark Viper using his engagement as clickbait for his drama response. TGG kept trying to apologize for his perceived wrongdoings, and yet again, Dark Viper refused to de-escalate. One thing that really stuck out to me that TGG claimed happened, and Dark Viper corroborates but tries to say, oh, we were both in on it, is this notion that friends are making sacrifices for each other and that TGG hasn't made enough sacrifices.
Matt said that one of the main parts of friendship, in his opinion, is that friends should make sacrifices for each other. And as a result, Matt wanted me to make a sacrifice for him. This may be hard for some people to believe, but this is true. And it goes against multiple statements of Matt saying that he never expected me to publicly get involved, because he did, and I'm going to explain that now. Matt wanted me to make a sacrifice for our friendship to prove my loyalty as a friend to him. He said that in order to prove that I am a real friend and that I don't just care about my brand, he publicly wanted me to sacrifice and put my brand at risk for him. What he wanted was for me to make a public tweet saying Matt was right and that CyberBoi was wrong about everything. Again, I don't think I've ever been emotionally manipulated more than that.
And again, the thing he's calling emotionally abusive, in text he's saying it's just a normal thing that friends do.
This is weird, manipulative. It sounds like fucking hazing in a fraternity, okay? It's weird. They have conflicting statements on it. If this is true, and Dark Viper, you're really saying this shit to your best friend, you are duplicitous and manipulative as fuck. In this situation, I overall feel bad for TGG, as I don't blame him for wanting to disassociate. DarkViperAU can seem like a ticking time bomb that will explode and become an optics nightmare at any moment. His promise of, I don't want to get into any more drama, was broken ironically over the podcast ending, and the way he frames the situation in his responses comes off as really malicious. Something I thought was really interesting and notable was the fact that both CyberBoi and TGG claimed in one of their responses that GTA YouTubers we're encouraging them to go after Matt.
What's the likelihood that 9,000 people saw my video and 10,000 unsubscribed to you because of it? No. You're driving your channel into the ground, and every other Grand Theft Auto creator has managed to message me and condemn what you're doing.
Also, before we end the video, I want to give a massive thank you, not just to the viewers of this channel, but all of the other GTA creators in the community who have reached out to me. I was absolutely shocked reading all of the messages I got from creators big and small, even creators bigger than me.
I don't know what this entails, but I just found that really interesting.
Boy in the teacher's pet, pimple face, ass wipe, looking like they just had a gyna.
To wrap up today's video, I think it's important to show DarkViperAU's pattern of behavior when it comes to dealing with controversy. I'm not here to relitigate it or spread lies, as he likes to say, since he's made peace with some of these people, but I think it's very emblematic of why his reputation has sunk the way it has and why he seems to be able to get away with it in his community, but nowhere else. It's a self-inflicted cycle that's as predictable as a GTA speedrun glitch. He gets a hemorrhoid over a perceived adversary, lashes out publicly or privately. Sometimes it'll be a multi-hour stream, long essays on his Twitter/community tab or in DMs, and other times it'll be an attempted expose. He does this all while acting like the biggest victim.
Why must my life suffer? Why must I suffer so with no one caring for so long?
He will claim lies or that he's being harassed. And guess what, Matto? Welcome to the internet. We all get shit. Nobody cares. You reap what you sow. Sometimes he'll retreat after realizing what he's done and make amends, but then claim victory. I wouldn't be shocked if Charlie just didn't want to deal with the immovable object and conceded. Other times he will delete his videos and frame his critics as delusional people working together as if it's some fucking grand conspiracy. And if it's someone he can manipulate or in a space where he has some pull, he will overwhelm things until they fold.
Please stop lying!
I could go into this further, but covering his situations with Rydog, Friendly Baron, Unnamed Charlie, Willie Mac Show, Chud Logic, CyberBoi, Hassan Piker, Asmongold, Ludwig has either already been done before or will be done by someone with more time on their hands. As I stated earlier, this isn't a documentary. In Dark Viper's response stream, he talked about the futility of responding to drama, and to a certain extent, I agree. The problem, Dark Viper, is that your response videos suck. You avoid addressing the points actually brought up, and I think you have it in you. You're always touting your degrees and shit. Use it to improve your content instead of finding psychological loopholes to avoid criticism. With all of this in mind, I can only come to one overwhelming conclusion.
The video is effectively DarkViperAU fucked the Loch Ness Monster and made 15 half Loch Ness Monster children. Dark Viper fucked the Loch Ness Monster. Dark Viper fucked the Loch Ness Monster. Loch Ness Monster hot.
Dark Viper did fuck the Loch Ness Monster.